The wind whistled through the rocky hills of Gillette, Arizona, in the winter of 1881. Snow drifted in thin veils over the red earth, the kind of snow that never stayed long but bit deep into the skin when it came. The desert slept beneath a white shroud, quiet, deceptive, and waiting. Beneath that silence, two figures moved, Henry Corey and Ralph Gaines. Both men were known across the Arizona territory for their cunning, for their charm when needed, and their ruthlessness when it mattered. Inside the tip-top mine, lanterns flickered against the rough tunnel walls. The air smelled of iron and sweat. Henry's voice echoed low, impatient. "Ralph, get the bars, quick, before the foreman wakes the night crew." Ralph grinned, his teeth glinting in the dim light. 8 bars, Henry, big as fence posts. "You sure we can haul all this?" Henry smirked, eyes hard beneath the brim of his hat. "We've come too far not to." And they did. 8 massive bars of gold, each 3 feet long, 4 inches wide, shining like captured sunlight. The weight of their fortune nearly broke the mules that carried them, but by dawn, the 2 outlaws vanished into the wilderness, leaving behind the echo of shovels and the greed of a lifetime. For days they rode north, following trails no lawman dared cross. The snow thickened, the roads vanished, and the gold bars clanked like ghosts in their saddlebags. At last, they reached Rogers Lake, a vast, flat basin west of Flagstaff. In winter, it froze solid, reflecting the sky like a mirror. There, by the side of an old trapper's cabin, they buried the bars beneath pine roots and frozen earth. "Someday," Ralph whispered, stamping down the dirt, "this lake will be our bank." Henry chuckled, "If we live long enough to draw from it." Neither could have imagined how true those words would become. Days turned into weeks, and greed turned to hunger. Gold was good, but silver was quick. News spread that a stagecoach carrying $25,000 in silver and gold coins would pass through Flagstaff. It was too much temptation for the 2 thieves to resist. The morning was crisp, the snow crunching under hooves. They lay in wait among the ponderosa pines, the air filled with the scent of sap and gunpowder. The jingle of harnesses came first, then the sound of wheels creaking over frost. Ralph tightened his grip on the shotgun. "Now!" Gunfire tore through the stillness. The horses reared, the driver screamed, and coins spilled like stars into the snow. It was over in less than a minute. The coach lay tilted on its side, smoke curling from shattered lanterns. Henry and Ralph scooped up the loot, stuffing the coins into burlap sacks until their arms ached. When they rode away, the road was silent again, only the echo of hooves fading toward Rogers Lake. Back at the cabin, they unearthed their buried gold bars, stacked them beside the silver and coins, and stared in disbelief. The cabin's flickering fire painted the loot in shades of blood and gold. Ralph laughed. "We did it, Henry, richer than any man in Arizona." Henry didn't laugh. He just stared out toward the frozen lake, the wind moaning across its surface. "Not rich yet," he said. "Not till it's safe." And so, they filled wooden kegs with their treasure. The sound of clinking gold echoed through the night as they sealed the lids tight. Then, walking carefully onto the ice of Rogers Lake, they chipped a hole and lowered the heavy barrels into the freezing depths. The water swallowed them without a ripple. "Down there," Henry whispered, "no sheriff will ever find them." They didn't know that it would be themselves, not the law, who would never see that gold again. News traveled fast across the territories, faster than men could ride, faster than secrets could be buried. Within days, word reached the sheriff in Prescott that 2 wanted men were holed up near Rogers Lake. Sheriff Ed Matson was not a man to let outlaws rest easy. He gathered a posse of 6 and rode to the forest, their lanterns glowing like fireflies in the cold dark. The snow fell harder that night, the kind that muffled every hoofbeat and made every breath visible. They reached the cabin at dawn, only to find it empty. The fire was cold, the beds unused, and the scent of horses long faded. "Damn it," Matson muttered, kicking at the ashes. "They're gone." But what the sheriff didn't know was that the outlaws had been gone less than 12 hours earlier. Henry and Ralph had fled south, spooked by rumors that a posse was on their trail. The lake, their fortune, lay behind them, frozen over and silent, hiding everything they had ever wanted. When the sheriff's men found the barrel's drag marks leading to the ice, they were confused but not curious enough to break through. They assumed the pair had simply packed and gone. Rogers Lake fell quiet again. The barrels rested beneath the ice, buried in mud and secrets. The two men rode into history, one toward his death, the other toward a lifetime of regret. Weeks turned to months. The snow melted. The trails turned to rivers of mud. Henry and Ralph split up near the Salt River, planning to meet again when the law forgot their names. But fate had other plans. Ralph Gaines was shot dead during a saloon fight in Tombstone, drunk, angry, and mouthing off about a treasure up north that could buy the whole damn town. No one believed him, but his body hit the floor before he could say another word. Henry Corey fared no better. In the spring of 1882, he was caught during a failed holdup near Globe, Arizona. His face was lined with dust and madness when they dragged him into jail. When asked about the stagecoach robbery, Henry said nothing. When asked about the gold from Tip Top Mine, his eyes went cold. But when the sheriff mentioned Rogers Lake, just once, Henry froze, then smiled. "Cold place," he whispered. "Real cold." He spent 24 years behind bars. His youth turned to dust, his memories a map he could no longer read. The world outside changed, new railroads, new laws, new faces. But one thing did not change, his obsession. Every night, he saw the lake. He heard the ice crack. He dreamed of the barrels sinking. When the cell doors finally opened in 1906, Henry was an old man, bent slow, but burning with the same fire. He found a friend, an old miner named Cal Bennett, and the two men set off toward Flagstaff with picks, shovels, and fading hope. The desert greeted them like a ghost. By the time Henry reached Rogers Lake again, it was summer. The lake had dried into a vast plain of cracked earth, stretching as far as the eye could see. He limped through the dust, eyes scanning every direction. Cal followed, doubtful but loyal. "Henry," Cal said, wiping sweat from his brow, "you sure this is a spot?" Henry pointed to the distant line of pines. "Cabin used to stand right there. We buried the bars near it, then sank the rest in the ice." They dug for days. The sun scorched their necks. The wind burned their faces. Every shovel strike echoed with desperation. But nothing came. No gold, no silver, not even a splinter of the barrels they'd sunk. By the fifth day, Henry fell to his knees, trembling. "It's here," he whispered. "It has to be here." Cal looked out at the shimmering lake bed, his voice quiet. Maybe it sank too deep, or maybe the lake shifted. Time buries more than treasure, Henry. Henry didn't answer. He just stared at the horizon, as if the desert itself were mocking him. When he finally left, he was a broken man. He died in 1936 in a boarding house in Prescott, mumbling about gold under the water. The map he'd drawn, crude lines and shaky letters, was found among the belongings, marking only one thing: Rogers Lake, our fortune waits. Decades passed. The wild frontier turned into highways and towns. Flagstaff grew. The railroad came. Tourists arrived, and the old stories faded into campfire whispers. But Rogers Lake remained. Every few years, when the summer sun dried it to dust, treasure hunters appeared with metal detectors and spades, walking in long lines across the cracked basin. They found horseshoes, bullets, wagon pieces, but never gold. Not one coin, not one bar, not one barrel. Some say the treasure sank deeper, buried beneath layers of silt and time. Others believe the barrels broke apart, scattering their contents into the mud, unreachable now beneath decades of earth. And then there are those who think Henry himself returned one last time before his death and found it, only to hide it elsewhere, his final secret carried to the grave. Today, Rogers Lake lies quiet again. In the dry season, its bed turns to white dust. In the wet, it becomes a shallow mirror of sky. The wind whispers through the pines, and the coyotes call at dusk. If you walk there when the world is still, you can almost hear it. The echo of a pick striking frozen ground, the faint rattle of coins beneath the mud, the ghostly laughter of two men who dreamed of fortune and found only legend. Perhaps the treasure of Flagstaff was never meant to be found. Perhaps it was never gold that mattered, but the story it left behind. As the sun sets over the desert, the lake gleams one last time, a golden shimmer across the earth, as if the treasure still waits, just below the surface, holding its breath through eternity. And somewhere out there, beneath the dust and silence of Rogers Lake, the lost fortune of Henry Corey and Ralph Gaines still sleeps.